Today, on Be Something Wonderful, the single most powerful reality bending and shifting technique ever. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Big video this morning. I want to talk about a session I had with a client yesterday. When we had first spoken in our very first session, he asked me, Tom, what's the single most powerful reality bending and shifting technique that I can practice right now that will shift my reality, that will change my life? And what I had talked to him about was his story, the inner talking, the story that he's telling about himself. Who he says he is told through the story, right? And he works on a commission basis for his what he calls his day job, and he has a side hustle, a real estate side hustle. And he felt his story was that it's really difficult to get deals, and that he does okay, but he really wants to make it easier. He really wants to feel that abundance. But his story wasn't about abundance. His story was that I've got to work hard for it. He goes, Tom, I make things happen. I make deals happen. So we talked about that, and I said, well, it's okay to be someone that makes something happen, but make it happen not from the horizontal view of reality, not from that less than 1.001% view of reality, that linear experience. Make it happen, make things happen from that vertical vantage point, right? Change your story that deals chase you, that I don't have to chase anything, that things just come to me. Things unfold, deals unfold, money comes to me, money chases me, abundance chases me, it attracts me. This became his new story immediately. So what we were talking about in last night's session is that now his side hustle is becoming his full-time thing. He said the deals are just falling on his lap, but not only with that, also with his regular job, the commission-based job. But his side hustle, he said, is far outshining what he's doing on a day-to-day basis, even though that has also increased. But he's feeling the abundance in all areas. How? Why? What changed? His story. He's no longer telling the story that he has to chase deals, he has to chase abundance, he has to chase money, that it chases him, that he is abundant, that as he stands in that vertical, all deals are available to him, and all deals are already closed. But you are that I am is total and absolute abundance already. Here, though, you have to chase it. Here, it's based on past relationships and things that you've done that affect the present, and that if you do the right things in the present, that in the future you'll have more money. Do you see it? He had that horizontal linear experience. Instead, he changed his story. That abundance chases him, money chases him, deals chase him, and they fall on his lap. When he changed his story, now he's rearranging frames of reality from that eternity film archive, as we've talked about, the God, the absolute, that one consciousness, that one reality, infinity, where all potential exists. Right? Your story right now determines the film roll and script of reality of your entire life experience. And then it starts rearranging itself into a new horizontal experience where he's on the bridge of incidence, he's on the path of least resistance to all of his deals closing, to all of that abundance happening right now and now and now and now. Do you see it? That's big here. We're going to get back to this. I want to also point out that a subscriber on the channel was responding to an earlier video a few days ago where I talked about this client that changed her story about her SP. That she was telling a story that they're just friends and that she has to pursue him. When she changed that story, right, that he started pursuing her, she now became the pursued. Right? They're no longer friends, right? And so I told that story, and then a subscriber commented on that video and applied it. And this is what they said. Remember, they're changing their inner speech, their inner talking, or the story you're telling yourself. I didn't meditate on it. I didn't imagine it. This is what this subscriber said. Or I think she said, I didn't imagine it. I didn't meditate on it. I really only told myself that I have my desired outcome. She told a new story. Do you see that? I told myself, my inner speech, my inner talking. I told her that she went to the end and that said, it's mine, right? He's chasing me, right? With absolute conviction, as the video mentions. And therefore, everything has to fall into place. Hear what she's saying. You create that new story of that end. That becomes your new identity. That becomes your new story. That's what you're telling yourself. Everything else must fall into place because it's implied, right? Powerful what she's saying. All the frames of reality must fall into place. That's what she's saying. All the frames must fall into place, leading you over the bridge of incidence, the path of least resistance to everything you want. Do you see it? You're rearranging reality. The implication that he pursues me must follow. This is what she's saying. Then that he pursues me, I assume it's romantic and we are together. You really work backwards. Accept the end, making that assumption your most dominant thought, and the conditions follow. But here's the thing, and I love that she says it's like working backwards. Well, that's what it feels like. It's not really working backwards. You're working in the vertical. You're working upwards. Right? And you're bringing all frames into that center of who you are, right? And creating that. But it feels backwards when we're in the horizontal linear experience. It feels backwards and upside down, right? So I love her wording here, right? Making that assumption your most dominant thought. That's your identity now. But really, the dominant thoughts and the dominant assumptions follow that new story. They follow that new reality, that new identity. Right? All thoughts and feelings follow. You tell the new story of the desired end instead of looking out there and telling that story. Normally, we look out there. We look at the linear horizontal experience and we tell that story. We try to make improvements in that story. We try to get better. Hopefully, a deal will close. You see the difference there? Way different. So let's hit this like we never have before. The single most powerful manifesting technique ever is telling a new story. Matching your inner speech, your inner talking to your desired end, to your wish fulfilled, to the identity that you wish to occupy. When Jesus said, who do you say I am? Who do people say I, the Son of Man, am? You're defining who you are, that identity. You're telling the new story, that new I am story from the vertical. You're rearranging all time. You're rearranging the frames in the eternity archive to create a different horizontal linear experience. Your story creates your entire life experience. Right now, your story activates and directs the creative power within you, the I am, the Word of God. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's what we're talking about. Right now, that God-given power. Your story activates it, directs it. You summon all power of the absolute and the only reality, God, through your story. Do you see that? You summon all power, not just some power, all power of infinity through that new story. There you are at the center of infinity, the center of the film world archive. Do you see it? Everything's potential, even your present frame. Do you see I have the present frame in a dotted box? Everything's potential. You have all potential to change your reality. Very powerful today. Persist without effort. Natural, from that I am vertical, the story telling the story of how you would like things to be. That's your imaginal act, or how you would have liked things to be. If it's about the past, revision, right? If you're remembering or reminiscing the past, reminisce or remember it how you would like it to be. That's your imaginal act. Creation's finish means all possible realities, all stories, all images, all frames of reality exist right now. Whether it's a past memory, a present image, or a future imaginal scene, they all exist right now. Do you see it? There it is. They're all there. Whether it's a past memory, a present image, or a future imaginal scene, they all happened and are all happening. It will happen right now. Very powerful. Let's continue. Whether you're remembering the past, giving meaning to the present conditions, or imagining the future, wish fulfilled, you're creating it right now. In other words, you're experiencing it right now. You're perceiving it right now. You're lighting it up. Otherwise, it's just potential. Without you remembering, without you giving meaning to it, without you imagining it, it stays as potential. But as you give meaning to the present, as you remember the past, as you imagine the future, it becomes your entire life experience. You reshape reality. You bend reality. You bend your script. You bend your physical experience into what you want it to be. You're lighting up that frame or image of reality. In other words, you're telling a new story. And your story, your assumptions about yourself and reality is the only reality. Your story, the I am, the only and one source, truth or cause of life experience, right? And remember, we talked about affirmations just a few days ago. Affirmations are always powerful, but they become infinitely powerful. You enchant them when you tell your affirmations with a story, right? As opposed to just vainly, as Neville Goddard says, vainly repeating them, right? They can still be powerful, but without the story, you're telling the story. Without the story, the affirmations. Let me show you here. Just affirming from that horizontal linear experience, you feel disconnected and separate from your source, separate from your desired end, separate from what you're affirming. But when you affirm from that vertical, when you wrap a story, an I am story around it, you're summoning the power of all time, of all reality in that film, and you start rearranging those frames of reality. You see it? You enchant your affirmations by creating a story. Your story is your expression of I am in the physical 3D manifested reality. That's your story. You don't have to struggle to believe it's true because I am is true. I am is absolute, truth of being. That which you declare and announce yourself to be, that which you're conscious of being as I am awareness is absolute truth. It's absolute conviction. And as you tell your story from that, that must be the truth of your reality. That must be your life experience. The only true story is your I am story. Before Abraham, I am. Before space and time, I am. Before these conditions, before anything, I am. Very powerful. The only truth, the only facts, the only assumptions are what you say or announce. It's your story is the only reality. Neville Goddard says this: the absolute cannot contain something within itself that is not itself. Do you see it? You can't tell a story that does not already exist. As you tell that story, it exists and it's reality now. The absolute cannot tell. God, the absolute, I am, the Father, the isness of reality, cannot contain something within itself that's not itself. If it did, then it would not be absolute, the only one. So as you tell that story, it must be reality. Commands, Neville says, to be effective must be to oneself. I am that I am. He talks about that. I am that I am is the only effective command. Wow. I am who I say I am. I am who I imagine myself to be. I am I am the story of that I'm telling. Right? I am that I am. I am the Lord, and besides me there's no one else. You cannot command that which is not. You can't command that which is not. You only can command what is. So as you tell that story, I am that I am. I am what I imagine myself to be. I am who I say I am. Reality is what I say it is. You're commanding all time. And there's no other. You must command yourself to be that which you would have appear. Neville got it. There is no other. You must command yourself to be that which you would have appear. Very powerful. Neville weighs in also on what effective command or affirmation means. He goes, you do not repeat like a parrot the statement, I am that I am. Such vain repetitions would be stupid and fruitless. This is Neville saying that's not me. Right? It is not the words that make it effective. It is the consciousness of being the thing which makes it effective. It's that consciousness that I am. It's that story that makes it effective. Telling that I am story, enchanting your affirmations with that I am story is what makes that effective. I am what I say I am. I am what I imagine myself to be. I am the story that I am telling. Wow. In other words, it's your identity, your story that gives it power. You're telling that story from level, if you remember the levels of creation, that playlist is we now have a playlist, levels of creation, that you're telling the story from your identity. You're telling the story by gazing upward at your I am awareness of being in the isness of reality, rather than looking out there at conditions or gazing downward at temporary thoughts and feelings and conditions of 3D, right? This is why Jesus said, who do people say that the Son of Man is? Or who do men say that I, the Son of Man, is? Jesus, the I am, God's idea of man in expression, is the Son of Man. Who do you say you are? That's the eternal question. The identity. How do you answer that question? By the story you're telling, right? Wow. And in yesterday's video, and also with a few clients, I gave some examples of some clients that I've been talking to, as well as that subscriber that yesterday, when we talked about in yesterday's video, she said she was telling the story of being an abandoned child, not worthy of love, right? That her father worked a lot and abandoned her. She was telling the story of I am not. She changed that story that I've always been loved. I've always been cared for. I'm always worthy. My father was working to provide for me, to love me, to show me that love. She told the true story, right? And then I had another client, I never have enough money to pay my bills or debt. This person changed their story to Source always provides. I receive what I give in abundance back to me, multiplied, pressed down, flowing over, right? And then another, I don't like my physical appearance or in other with health issues. I love my body. It's divine. I see the perfection behind the appearances. Who I really am is perfect health, untouched by these temporary conditions. Changing that story changes all the time. Instead of telling the same old story, looking out there with empty affirmations, trying to change the script, trying to change conditions from that horizontal linear experience, trying to affirm and change subjective tendencies with no real change of identity. Remember, those subjective tendencies, the subconscious actions that we take based on who we're identifying with, based on what we're assuming, based on what we're affirming, the story we believe we are, right? Remember, we talked about those yesterday. You change those subjective tendencies with your new story. Do you see it? Repeating that new story, becoming that story from the vertical. All frames coalesce together to create this new identity. The affirmations in the story becomes enchanted. And now those subjective tendencies are aligned with your story of this new story of who you are. That's powerful as you consciously create your reality. So that's why Neville said, this is about telling a new story. So this is what Neville said about telling a new story. Now, Neville said this about inner talking or in a speech, but I'm calling it your story because that's what it is. This is what Neville said. This is why he said it and why this is so powerful. And I've talked about this before. As we control our inner talking, in other words, our story, matching it to our fulfilled desires. In other words, telling it how we would like things to be from the vertical, from that I am. We can lay aside all other processes. Big statement, all other processes, because this is the ultimate affirmation, your new story. It's not about controlling thoughts, controlling feelings, or what to do or don't do. It's about telling that new story, right? When you control the story, just tell that new story. It's not even controlling, it's effortless because it's from I am. Then the spontaneous thoughts and feelings start falling in line with that new identity, that new story. Your subjective tendencies to do things or don't do things is now aligned with that new identity. Tell your new story from the truth of being. I am that I am. I am who I say I am. I am who I imagine myself to be. How you would like things to be, your desired imagined end. Past, present, and future, because it's all happening as we've showed you right now. That's all now. That's all now, right in the vertical, right? When you do, you summon the absolute power, grace, and wisdom of I am in the present moment. And you change, you bend, and you shift all time, all realities, all identities right now. And you create a new horizontal linear experience. Now, now, and now. Wow. That really is, guys. That is the single most powerful reality bending and shifting technique ever. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on our videos. Thank you for joining our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. For being part of our Facebook, our Instagram and Twitter. You can find us there at Tom Kearin, and also for being part of our membership channel. If you're a member, thank you for joining. If you haven't, check it out. There's a link below. There's a brand new live stream that we had on Sunday, live from Las Vegas right here. I took your questions for nearly 50 minutes. We answered questions on all types of reality creation questions. That's now on the membership channel, available for viewing. We also have a video we just released a few days ago, a new video on the membership channel. Check it out. Guys, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom with Be Something Wonderful, coming to you from Las Vegas. We'll see you soon.